Good evening and welcome to Monday Motivation. My name is Jabu Zwane, the Mindset Development Specialist and your host for this evening. Once more, we're talking still about leadership tonight. There's a question that has been asked a lot in the circles of leadership. Are leaders born or are they made? It's a question of nature versus nurture. But I'm going to start off with a bit of story tonight. I can remember way back in the day, around 2003, which were the early days of my corporate life. I was working for this call center company as a salesperson, and my immediate manager used to be this top performing salesperson, and then he was promoted to becoming a manager. What was interesting is that after about a year or so, he decided to go back to the floor, as we used to call it, meaning that he decided to go back to being a salesman, to being a salesperson. He didn't do so well as a manager. And when I asked him, he realized that, you know what, he said this to me, I am very good at self-government, at managing myself, at being very good at what I do for me. But I realized that as soon as I start trying to involve other people, it creates a bit of complexity. And I think this kind of gives us a clue as to whether or not leaders are made, whether they're born, whether it's nature or nurture. We're not going to necessarily answer the question this evening, but I want to bring forth something very important tonight. Do you know who it is that you're leading? Do you know how to lead them? Do you know what to do to motivate them? Do you know what to do to get them to the next step? There are 4 archetypes as far as who it is that you're leading, especially if you're a leader. The first is a follower. The second is the one that is a potential leader. The third are leaders themselves. And then the fourth one are experts. What is the difference? Let's start off first of all with understanding what a follower. A follower has no interest in leading other people. They have no interest in necessarily doing anything that involves managing, teaching, guiding other people. They're very good at following instructions, and they can literally reach that level of high proficiency doing whatever it is that they're supposed to do, as it was the case with my manager, who was an incredible salesperson. The funny thing about that, as soon as he went back to the floor, as I was saying, he was back at the top again. And this is what is interesting about a follower, is that the moment that you add people as an element of complexity, it becomes difficult for them. And sometimes we can confuse the high level of proficiency of a follower for somebody that has a potential for leadership. And how do you know that this person is not set up for leadership? They have no interest in other people. Whenever people come and ask them for help, they get impatient, they get frustrated, they become very short. They'll go say things like, "Ah, man, it's very easy. Why are you struggling with this?" And you'll find that as far as relational index is concerned, their levels are very, very low. So they're not very good with relationships. And it is important that you don't confuse their level of proficiency for potential for leadership. How do you empower them? Continue to encourage them to do a little bit more than what they are doing, but be very careful that you don't overwhelm them by involving anything that has to do with relationships or with managing other people. The second archetype is somebody that has a potential leadership. Now, this type of person, in terms of an animal, I compare them to a goat. A follower, I compare them to a sheep, somebody that's very good at following instructions and doesn't want too much complexity. On the other hand, a goat is an animal that is very adaptable. For those of you that maybe even live in different types of places where you've lived with goats, you'll know that they can imitate even dogs, they can imitate other animals, and they can literally eat anything that you give them. Not necessarily the case, for example, with the sheep. So a person that has the potential to become a leader, they've got that high level of adaptability. They're good with other people. They're good with taking initiative. They exercise a degree of taking ownership in whatever that they're doing. However, there still is an element of chaos. How do you help somebody that has a potential to become a leader? And how do you make a distinction between somebody that has a potential to become a leader and somebody that shows traits of potentially being a leader, but actually they're not? Again, it's an issue of relationships. You see, there are other people that in terms of self-government, they're able to take initiative. They're able to take in all the variables of complexity in an environment, let's say in the workplace, for example, and they're able to use those to perform at a high level. And they do have good relationships with other people. However, the moment that you ask them to teach, to guide, to coach, to mentor, frustration happens. And they struggle to maintain relationship, or at least to fulfill that obligation that you put on them. So, but when this person has a potential to become a leader, you'll find that they are able to teach. They have patience. They are able to guide. They are able to serve. And they're not easily frustrated by questions that are posed to them, especially where they need to give clarity or where they need to give guidance. And so this is how you make then that distinction between somebody who is potentially a leader and actually eventually will become a leader, and somebody who shows traits of potentially becoming a leader, but they are not a leader. Now, how do you empower this type of person? You give them opportunities to lead here and there, but you have to give them a structure and parameters within which they have to exercise those duties. Because if you don't, they may easily usurp authority. They may easily take on a little bit more than that they can chew and create chaos. So it's important that you set very clear parameters as far as authority is concerned, as far as responsibility is concerned, as far as even the degree of accountability is concerned. Awesome. Now, moving on to the third one, and the third one being a leader. How do you lead leaders? Now, I mentioned a couple of weeks ago that oftentimes leaders are the last people to find out that they are a leader, because their leadership is sort of prompted by the problems that they see and their deep desire to want to solve those problems, specifically when they see how negatively they impact other people. So a leader is somebody that you don't have to push. If they see a problem, they start to ask questions. What can I do? What can I contribute? They start to ask themselves questions. What do I need to do to be better positioned to be a contributor to solving the problem, to coming up with solutions, to give support to the leader that is leading me? And when you're leading these type of people, it's important that you leverage that initiative spirit, that you give them opportunities to lead, that you give them opportunities to learn, and of course, they make very good candidates for that pipeline planning. If we're talking about future leaders, that is the pool where you're going to find the future leaders of the organization. But also, with their potential leaders, that's where your pool of potential leaders you'll find as well. Now, these type of leaders, I normally liken them to lions. And here's the thing that happens. If you don't give them opportunities to lead, they'll keep on taking opportunities to lead, which basically means that you're going to then keep on butting heads with them. And so then it is important to then look at how their skills can complement yours, facilitate those skills, and give them opportunities that can be able to help you to achieve even better results as an organization or within your team or department or whatever it is that you are leading. Excellent. Now, the last one is what I call experts. Now, experts, on the other hand, these people have got a higher than above average. They've got an above average level of proficiency in whatever that they do. And they have the ability to take on more than just what is required. So if you put them, for example, in an environment, because of their vast experience, because of how long they've been involved in whatever that they're involved with, they are fast, they are able to fast process what's going on, come up with solutions, understand complexities, break down things to simplify them. And if you are working with this type of an expert and you are their leader, it is important that you create room for them to make use of their expertise, to not feel intimidated by them, and to not see their questioning, their constant questioning and desiring to get more information as some kind of an attack of your own leadership or as some type of way of undermining your leadership, but rather to become curious and to ask them questions and to give them the space to pour into the organization as much knowledge as they possibly can, as much experience as they possibly can. Now, in the company that I worked with, when I had one of these type of experts, what I used to do with them was that if there is a particular skill that I needed to share with the team, as opposed to me being the one that's giving them the training, I would call on this experienced salesperson, for example, and say to them, okay, you know what, so-and-so, can you please just talk to the team about how to overcome objections? You know, show me what your formula is. Do you know what your formula is? And one of the things that I used to do is sit down with them and help this expert understand exactly how rich and how vast the experience is by using frameworks, because I'm a framework person, right? And I sit down and say, okay, what do you do if a customer says this? What do you do when a customer says that? And why is it that you say it that way? And how many customers have you used this with? And what is the ratio? What is success ratio? And what happens with an expert when they see that you have due respect for the amount of time that they've put in to get to that level of proficiency, they can become an incredibly valuable asset to support you as a leader and to help the team in general to achieve the targets and to achieve the goals that you want to achieve together as a team. Now, let's quickly then bring this together and summarize it again. Or before I do that, for the expert, normally I'd call them elephants. Because remember, like an elephant in the jungle, the sheer size of their presence, when the elephant steps on the ground shakes, and the sheer presence can be very intimidating. An elephant also, in terms of leading, especially if you're leading an organization that has multiple levels, can be your own boss. It can be somebody that is an industry expert, or somebody that is perhaps a founder of a company, or somebody that is more senior, maybe the board, for example. Because those people, when they are present and you are present in the environment, they have the potential to undermine your leadership unless you know how to lead them. And so when they see that there's chaos, you can find that they want to take over, or they'll ask you questions, or look at you, and people will look at them, and then they can very easily undermine you as a leader. So let's wrap it up quickly. Understanding who you are leading. First, are you leading followers? Just because the follower is showing a good high level of proficiency doesn't mean that you have to put them into a leadership position, because then it's a setup for failure for you and for the organization and for them as well. Secondly, you have potential leaders. Make a distinction between somebody that shows traits of potentially leading by looking at how they handle other people, how is their relationship skills, and are they good at teaching, at guiding, and at also empowering and being helpful to others. If they don't show those traits, then they're just highly proficient people, but they're not necessarily a leader. But the ones that have potential to become a leader, you'll see that they're always trying to help other people. Thirdly, leading leaders who are illegal. These leaders, giving them opportunities to lead, to showcase their skills, and to complement you, to help the dynamic of the team, to strengthen the team. And then lastly, of course, is experts. And experts, encourage them to be on the path of ongoing growth, improving on their skills, but also leveraging their expertise and giving them an opportunity to exercise their expertise and to share with the team. If you don't do that, if you don't pay attention to who it is that you're leading, you might find that then you become a frustrated leader because you put wrong people in wrong positions. And you're wondering why they're not succeeding. And then you're putting too much on people that have a low capacity to handle, especially the complexity that comes with leading people, because people are not easy. People are difficult. We are complex beings that even we ourselves struggle to understand ourselves, let alone for somebody to understand us. And so then it is important that you correctly identify the right archetype that you are leading and then put in place a strategy of how you're going to lead them. Remember, part of leadership is that there's got to be progress. There's got to be a movement forward. And if you don't know how to take these people forward and they feel a bit stagnated, it can create that energy of stagnation, which is an energy of frustration, which is an energy of regress. Because remember something very important. In this world that is moving forward at the pace that we're moving forward in now, especially now with the advent of AI, if you are not moving forward, you're stagnating, actually it's tantamount to regress, tantamount to going backwards. And so then it is important that we understand who it is that we're leading, how do we lead them, how do we empower them, how do we encourage them, how do we challenge them, how do we create a safe space for them to grow, and how do we ensure that together as a team we achieve the goals that we should achieve together. Now, we can go on and on about leadership, but it is important for us to understand that leadership is complex. It requires that we put ourselves under continuous growth path, that we understand ourselves as much as also we need to understand other people. The challenge of understanding other people is far more difficult, but the challenge of understanding ourselves is a lot easier. And a leader who's self-aware is a leader that is very effective. Know who you're leading so that you can know how to best lead them. I hope that you have received tremendous value this evening and that it was helpful to you and it was easy to remember. We will meet on again next week, Monday. Enjoy the rest of your programming. My name is Jabu Zwane. Have a good evening.